Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. Nowadays, it seems like truth is whatever anybody wants it to be. So what you do when all that's happening, with all the noise, Buddhists say, go back to the root. Are there root truths that nobody can be making noise about? There are at least two that are unquestionable. One, and by the way, the Bible says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That's the truth. So what's the first truth that is unalienable, unquestionable? You're sitting on a little planet, sitting in the middle of nowhere. If you're tired of my saying that, that's too bad. Because I would like you to anchor yourself in these two truths. And then see what happens to your mind, see what happens to your life, see what happens to everything. Is it true that the earth is a tiny little planet spinning in the middle of black, empty space? Yeah. Is that a philosophy, a concept, a view, an opinion, a hope, a dream? No. It has nothing to do with mind. People go out there now and take pictures of it. We get family pictures. Okay, great. So now you have this envisionment of the planet Earth, like the Earthrise from the moon or whatever. I dare you to let me have your mind for a moment and show how even that is so meaningless, is so absurd, is so lacking of true truth. That is a planet spinning around out there. That planet is 93 million miles from the sun. Miami is 360 miles. I dare you, let go and let your mind feel this. So it's 93 million miles from the sun. Okay, very good. That Earth, 1.3 million of them fit inside that sun. That's how small and meaningless. I know you don't like hearing that. People write me, how do I feel if I feel I'm meaningless? You're meaningless. And I'll tell you a secret. When you realize you're meaningless, you feel wonderful. You feel free from all that garbage of trying to give fake meaning to the fact that you sit in a little piece of dirt, that 1.3 million of that piece of dirt fit inside a star. How many stars are there? 300 billion. In your galaxy. 300 billion. So not only are you meaningless, and is the earth meaningless, but the sun is meaningless. If it went away, it would make no difference. If the entire earth blew up to smithereens, a couple of planets would change orbit, and nothing else would happen. You want to give false meaning to things? Go ahead and see how neurotic you become. See how much trouble you have hanging out on the planet Earth for a while. What's so difficult about it? It's kind of a nice planet. Go to Mars. Go on. There's another planet. Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. Hey, Saturn's really pretty. It's just gas. He says, oh my God, there's nothing going on Saturn or anywhere. What about on Earth? Anything going on Earth? OMG. There's plants and animals and birds and colors and sounds. Yes or no? We got the Hubble up there. We got the James Webb up there. We've seen, thousands and millions of light years away. We ain't seen squat. What have we seen so far? Black holes that are eating everything and burning fires. And, oh my God. They found a supernova out in the distance whose brightness was billions of times the sun. And it's just one little thing out there. Wake up. Now, guess what I'm talking about? Truth. Anything I said not the truth? But you don't like it, do you? That's because you have built a psyche inside your head that is not the truth. If it can't handle the truth, then it's not the truth. That's what's so nice about truth, okay? Is you got to be able to handle it. And if you can't, then you're living in make-believe. You're living in made-up stuff. You can make up anything you want. We do it nowadays, don't we? Just read the newspapers. Anything. Listen to your politicians, all right? So basically, it's just whatever everybody wants it to be, all right? But no, it's not. We're talking about absolute truth. Do the Chinese believe in this truth? Yes. Do the Russians? Yes. Does any scientist believe this truth, understand the truth I just said? That you're sitting on a planet spinning in the middle of nowhere, and that 1.3 million of that planet fits inside the sun, and there's 300 billion of those suns in your one galaxy. And before I go on from there, I've done this with you before. How far away is the closest star? Sun, of course, the closest star. The next closest star. Remember, there's 300 billion of them in your galaxy. How far away are they from each other? There's an example. Your next closest star, it is 4.3 light years away. The next closest star of 300 billion. If you take a beam of light, hold it above the Earth, and let it go for 1 second, it circumnavigated the globe 7.5 times. Is that fast enough for you? Go that speed every second for 4.3 years, and you'll get to the next star. What is this? Truth. And that's the next of 300 billion. So what are you doing with your mind? Because you're not doing that, are you? You're not letting your mind, which is capable. Look, your mind just understood what I was talking about. Apes' minds don't. The tortoises' minds don't. They're wonderful animals. But only you can comprehend these deep truths. Your mind is phenomenal. But why not use it properly? If it's capable of comprehending these deep, honest truths that are unalienable, that can't be challenged, they're absolute, why are you not using this brilliant mind that you have to grok and understand and comprehend and contemplate the truth, the absolute truth that no one can argue? Because I just gave you a piece of it, didn't I? If you contemplate that truth, you will become free. You will never have another problem for the rest of your life. Why, what are your problems? Things that your mind told you are a problem. That's the only problem you can possibly have, is that your mind said, I don't like that. What if it said, I like it? No, not a problem. What if it said, I like it, and I said, I don't like it? That's a problem. What if I said, I love you, and I decide I don't? Oh, I got a problem. What if I think I don't love you, and then somebody else gets you, and I decide I really did love you? You got a problem. All of your problems are made up that way. Otherwise, you're just sitting on a planet spinning around outer space. And it's really big, right? It's so big, it's so expansive, that if you contemplated the truth with your mind, instead of getting caught in these ego thoughts of me and I and mine and what I like and what I don't like, you know what your mind's full of? What I like and what I don't like, what I believe in, what I don't believe in, what are my concepts and what I views, what my philosophy is different than your philosophy. Why don't you agree with me? Just like, blah, 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 blah. That's like a little fishbowl that got put over your head, and these little fishies swimming around inside. That's that voice inside your head. The only problem you have is the one you defined as a problem. I'm now talking about something you don't get to define. If you dare to contemplate it, it is the truth, the absolute truth, and it will never not be. It's kind of solid ground. So here we are, 4.3 light years away from our nearest star. I'll tell you what we'll do for the next 47,000 years. Talk about the rest of the stars and how far away they are. Like, we sent out, some of you follow this stuff. Voyager was sent out in the 60s, a long time ago. And it's really special. Voyager 2, Voyager 1, they now have gone, how far away they are? The furthest that anything has ever gone, ever, right? They are outside the solar influence. They're outside our solar system. Oh my God. I just told you, what is your solar system? The part from the sun, the distance from the sun that seems to have any influence, the solar winds, the solar rays, anything. Big deal. That sun is one star out of 300 billion, and the next one's 4.3 light years away. And this is just one galaxy. Please, just for a moment, you're in the temple of the universe. I dare you to free your mind. How? By stop binding it to the stupid personal thoughts that you filled your head with. Just for a minute, dare to do that. Okay, so I didn't touch the 300 billion. That's ridiculous. I once had somebody check out, I forget what the exact number was, but I had somebody take a calculator and figure out if you sat in the corner over there and count to 300 billion 1 second at a time. 1, 2, 3. How long would it take? I forget, but I swear to God, it was lifetimes. And that's how many stars are in your galaxy. All right, I don't know, we're discussing, I won't make a big deal out of it. How many galaxies are there? Their estimate at this time is 2 trillion. 2 trillion of these. Where's the next one? Andromeda, the next major galaxy to us, to Milky Way, is Andromeda galaxy. You've heard of that, right? How far away is the next galaxy of the 2 trillion? Okay? It is 2.5 million light years away. Beam of light, let go 1 second, 7.5 times circling the globe, go for a trip for 2.5 million years, and you will get to the next galaxy. All right. Now, tell me what's important. That is what it means, that you contemplate the truth, and it will set you free. What if you thought like that? It doesn't mean you're not here on earth, but you're also there, okay? You're here on earth in ratio and relationship to reality, to the truth. You know, people talk about God. You want to talk about God? I'll do it for 1 second. Did you see all that I talked about? All those galaxies and all that, right? That's God's body. That is one consciousness. Just like your consciousness is aware of your entire body at once. There is an entity. I'll call it an entity. Not a human entity. There's an entity whose body is all of that. It created it out of itself and is experiencing every single drop of it, every single moment of everything. That's God. Pretty neat, isn't it? And someday you're going to understand how. How could you understand? Because you're conscious, and that entity is conscious. And there's only one consciousness in the entire universe. That's the consciousness. The trouble is that consciousness is staring at your thoughts, your body, what's in front of you, your emotions, and yours, and yours, and yours, just like the sun has many rays. There's just one sun, all right? So your consciousness is lost in what you're looking at. When you go deep enough, and you are capable, every one of you, to go that deep, to where you stop staring at yourself, which is what you're doing, you know it. You're staring at your thoughts, your emotions, what you like, what you don't. You're just totally caught, all right? When you stop doing that, you realize you are consciousness. And that consciousness is a ray that comes from the great consciousness. And masters merge. That's what Christ meant when he said, my Father and I are one. That's what enlightenment is. Don't ever use the word. Don't say, oh, I'm enlightened. No, you're not, okay? Mayor Baba said when he reached that state, it was like a drop of water, was a drop of consciousness, was staring at him. That drop stopped staring and fell back into the ocean. Find a drop of water once you dropped it in the ocean. What's the probability? It merged. The word yoga means union, merger. That's where the great ones went. And every single one said the same thing. That which I am, so also are you. Period. Are you conscious? Are you aware of your thoughts? That which is aware of your thoughts is that consciousness. And so you start understanding what's going on. Okay? That I didn't lay out as the second truth. It happens to be a truth, but until you experience it yourself, it's arguable. All right? It's not arguable to one who has come in harmony with that. And then you realize that that universal consciousness, that consciousness loves you more than anyone could. All it is love. That's its nature. Wow. What problems do you have? That's ridiculous. There are no problems. There's just existence. All right, so the first truth was that the universe is very, very, very big, and your earth is very, 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 very small. And if the earth is very small, what are you? Not even a protozoa in the midst of, all right? That's truth. Give you another truth. Unalienable, non-discussable, agreed upon by every single scientist, every single person, everything ever that ever was. What? You're not staying here. You're not staying here. Again, I don't care if you like it or not. It's an absolute truth. There's a little ball spinning through space. Somehow you drop down on it. That's your philosophy, how you got here. It's your philosophy where you were before. I couldn't care less. We all got one, right? You drop down on a planet. You're going to spin around the planet for what, 80, 90, 100 years? How long has the planet been here? 4.5 billion years. What's your little chuck on here? Nothing. Again, the truth always says the same thing. What are you doing with your mind? It's not the truth. The truth is you're sitting on a tiny little planet, spinning a little absolutely nowheres, and you're not going to stay here very long. And what you decide to do while you're here? Suffer? Freak out? Get uptight? Get anxious? Get neurotic? That's a funny thing to do on a little planet, spinning a little nowheres, and you're only going to be here a few years. How'd you choose that one? Are you waking up? That's what it means to wake up. What does it mean to not wake up? Instead of letting your intellectual mind, your abstract mind, your impersonal mind, call it whatever you want, this expansive, brilliant thing that you have, period. You don't have to be a genius to contemplate what we just talked about. Instead of using that mind to help you realize reality and what's really going on, you have come down with your consciousness and stared at you and your thoughts and what you like and what you don't like, what you believe and what you don't believe, and what happened to you. Oh my God, you poor thing. What happened to you? Things happen to everybody that ever lived. 8.3 billion of you are alive right now. Everyone's got a story. Is it not true that every single one has had something happen to them every single moment? But you made a really big deal of what happened to you, didn't you? All right? There's something happening everywhere. It's just a happening place. Even just here on the earth. Otherwise, go explore where I keep my mind up there. It's very nice up there. It's really nice. Then you come down and have some fun, to do good, whatever you want to do. But don't come down here and make a neurotic mess of your mind and then freak out because you're freaking out. Well, what about my heart? People make a big deal of the heart. Are you willing to be honest in this talk? Your mind governs your heart. Watch. One thought, your heart closes. One thought, your heart opens. God, I really love him so much. Since I met him, I'm not even the same. My heart's just pouring out with love. Did you know that he killed 5 people before I met you? What? Oh my God, I never see him again. Just kidding. Oh. Truth or not? Your mind can govern your heart. It does. And guess what? Then they work together. Then the heart starts getting these impressions and starts feeling something. It starts hurting. It starts getting scared. You know what the mind does? Why am I scared? Oh my God, maybe it's because Sally said that. Maybe I shouldn't have gone there. Maybe I did something wrong. Oh my God, my karma. I'm ruined for life. I'll have to live in hell forever. Go have fun, because you won't. So this interplay between your personal heart and your personal mind. What does that mean? I just talked about the abstract mind, the intellectual mind, the mind, but now we're talking about this tiny little caught little thing in a box, in a cage. You took your mind and filled it with your own thoughts, and you refuse to think of the whole mind. What is the personal mind? The mind that's capable of thinking of anything, anywhere, at all times, only focusing on this tiny little thing. It's so small. One of the great masters, Ramakrishna, when he talked about himself, you know what he called it? This. This isn't feeling well today. It wasn't it. It was just something he's looking at. It's just something you're looking at. You understand that? It's just something you're looking at. You're conscious and you're paying a lot of attention to these stupid little thoughts that you collected in your mind, and they just keep talking over and over and playing over and over again and getting you all nervous and uptight and scared and desirous and fearful. And then it makes the heart feel scared. The poor little heart. The heart's a sensitive, beautiful instrument. It's got this maniac talking to it. Don't go there, don't go there. You know, you shouldn't go there. Oh my God, no, you can't go there by yourself. No, there could be killers in there. And the heart goes, oh. Have I told the truth or not? Okay. You're doing that to yourself. That's not reality. That's stuff you're making up. I told you once, right? I point over there because she was sitting right there. Beautiful young lady. On either Monday or Thursday night, after a talk, a question and answer, she raised her hand. She said, I think I understand what you're talking about. My father was a cop in New York, heavy section in New York City, all right? He told me since I was young, don't you ever get into a taxi cab by yourself. A woman in New York, don't listen to me, by the way. A woman in New York cannot ride in a taxi cab by themselves. Are you kidding me? You have no idea what I've seen. Well, I'm sure you have. Being a police officer in the dark part of New York, women get into taxi cabs all the time by themselves in New York. Do you understand that? Or Ubers. Okay, I'm talking to the wrong crowd, right? He would have said the same thing about Ubers, right? So it's like, no, you can't do that. You can't sit there and take the worst parts of anything that ever happened, that happens 0.001% of the time, and say, that is what I should be scared of. Because you're going to be scared to death about everything. Here we go. You grew up. How'd your mind get the way it is? This thing you're staring at. You grew up and your parents got divorced. And you didn't like your stepfather or your stepmother, whatever. And you didn't like the whole thing. Okay? Well, that was when you were 5 till 10 or something. Then you moved. Right now you're 28, 30. And you fell in love with somebody. And he wants to marry you. But you've decided not to get married. No, I don't want to get married. Why? I'm not getting married. I don't talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I just not getting married. Just how I am. That's how I look at things. You know why you look at things that way? Because you're afraid if you got married, you get divorced. Because 50% of all marriages end up in divorce. And you had a really bad experience as a child with a divorce, didn't you? This is Freud talking to you. You understand that? I don't have to be spiritual. This is straight psychology. So you got an impression left inside your heart and your mind that divorce is bad for children. You know for a fact. You went through it. How many children didn't go through it? How many children ended up with a better stepfather than the original one? All you know is your experience, which is nothing. Statistically, it's meaningless. It's just what one person experienced once. There's 8.3 billion people on the planet, and all the ones who born and died already, they had experiences too. But the only experience that matters to you in your statistical set is the one that happened to you. I know for a fact. Children get hurt by divorce. I did. Therefore, I'm not getting married. Why? No matter how much we love each other, we might not later. And we might get divorced. So no, I don't want to get married. And I'm not having children either. Every single preference that you have was made that way. You did not decide one single thing by yourself. Not your politics, not your religion, not what you like, not what you don't like. What does psychology say? Man is the sum of his learned experiences. First, it's not true, because so are women. And second of all, no, you are not the sum of your learned experiences. You are the consciousness inside that is aware that your psyche is the sum of your learned experiences. You're watching a mind and a heart and express the sum of your learned experiences. Where do you think that stuff came from? I don't like the color blue. I've never liked the color blue. What was your blankie when they took it away too soon? Blue. I love the color blue. It's my favorite color. What was your blanking when they took it away? Blue, and I want it back. But how old were you? 2? They're right when they say that to you. Your psyche is the sum of your learned experiences. But spirituality doesn't argue that. Spirituality says that doesn't mean you're the sum of your learned experiences. How do you know you like something? Does your mind say, I like it? Yes or no? Does your heart feel, I like it? Yes or no? How do you know you don't like something? Does your mind say, I don't want to go. I don't like that. No, I'm not going. That's how you know. It tells you, doesn't it? Where did it get the idea to say that? Here, I'll show you an example. You won't like it. That you are the sum of your learned experiences. Somebody comes up to you and says, I got a date for you. Yeah, he's really a great guy, really wonderful, all right? And, a lot of people know him, this and that, and they tell you all about him, this and that special. Now that's an experience. That's just one of the experiences you had, that somebody told you these things. Now, how would you like to meet this guy? Yeah. Let's say you're nervous to meet him because you already decided he's really special. You're doing all that. That happened because you had the experience of that person telling you that stuff. If that person hadn't told you that stuff, and that guy go walking by, saying, there's an ego pompous. Your mind might have said that because you walk like somebody in fifth grade walked. Do you understand what I'm telling you? So there, you've had this experience. There it is. We're going to hook them up. And all of a sudden somebody calls you and says, did she hook you up with George? Are you kidding me? Go talk to Sally and see what he did to her. End of the conversation. How you feel about George now? Sum of your learned experiences. Don't tell me you have the truth. You don't have any truth. You have what two people told you. So your feelings, your emotions, your likes, your dislikes, every single thing that's going on in your mind and your heart, the personal mind and the personal heart, are the sum of your learned experiences. They are meaningless. Oh, don't say that. I get in big trouble when I say that, by the way. Most people write me, how could you say that? I'm not meaningless. Yeah, you are. Well, why is it meaningless? I had that experience. How many experiences didn't you have? Throughout your life, any moment you're having an experience. How many are you missing that are going on at the same time that you're not experiencing? What's the universal set here? The universe. What's your experience? 0.0000000 on for infinity % of what's going on. In other words, in statistics, we call that statistically insignificant. It's meaningless. I know who's going to win the election. How do you know? I asked her who she's going to vote for. And no, she said so-and-so. Therefore, that's who's going to win the election. No, go back to school. That is not statistically significant. That is meaningless. So is the experience you had in any given moment, because you missed all the rest of the experiences. But you took that one meaningless experience. Not meaningless. It was an experience. It's an experience. But it was one out of 700 billion. If you had looked to the right, you have a different one. Look to the left, a different one. If your coffee took 1 second longer to cook this morning, you would not have had the experience you had next. Who's willing to use their mind to speak the truth? So you look at it and you find you've had an experience. You missed everything. And now you think your opinions and your hopes and your dreams and your concepts and your views and how you think is meaningful. No, it's not. Can I say that to you? Do you understand logically why it means nothing? It's just the sum of the experience that you had, which are nothing compared to how many others there were that were going on at the same time. All right? So you start to get humble. That's it. You shall know the truth and it'll set you free. You start to sit there saying, why am I listening to this garbage that's going on inside my mind? The reason is because you had an experience 5 days ago at one particular point of Einstein's time-space continuum, of which there were every single place on the time-space continuum something was going on. But this is one that was going on in your space. Is it okay to bring Einstein in? Time-space continuum, meaning every single place there is and all that ever was, time and space, there's something going on at that point. And you were standing at that point. At that point, you missed everything else. Okay? But that thing didn't feel good. Guess what? It's going to run your life. It will run the rest of your life because you didn't let it be the experience that I happened to have at that moment. It became the most important thing in your entire life. You were married to a guy named Ben, and you loved him to pieces. But not in the end, you didn't love him to pieces. Normally, divorces aren't so nice, okay? And it was ugly, and it hurt a lot, right? This is now 5 years later. You're in Italy. at a party and somebody yells out with an Italian accent, Ben, Ben, your heart closes. It goes like this. You don't want to hear the name Ben. You've had enough Ben for an entire lifetime. There, are you listening to me? So you took this one moment in reality that there were all these other moments and you stored it inside of you because it didn't feel good. And now it's running your life. That is why your mind talks what it says. I'm going to cry. I'm trying to make you understand. Why does that voice in your head talk all the time? Because you stored garbage inside of you that you can't handle. That's what you stored in there. Ask Freud. You didn't store the white lines as you drove past the road, or the different trees you drove by, or the people you don't know in New York, or the cars that drove by on the highway. You don't store that stuff. You store the stuff that bothered you. You store the stuff that made a big impression in that moment. And what ends up happening, you stored inside of yourself and built a psyche out of it, of everything that ever bothered you. What do you like? What do you dislike? Just give me a list of what you stored in there, because that's all that's going on. You give me a list of what you don't like. I'm not going to spend my time doing it, but every one of you, if I got down to why don't you like it? It's your past. It's impressions that got stored inside of you from your past that you're uncomfortable with. Well, what is it that you like? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What are your passions? Go down into them. They're based on your past, what made you happy before, what you liked. It could be a movie you watched. It could be a book you read. It's just programmed. And you stored that stuff inside of you. And as long as you did that, it's so noisy and loud and it's so powerful because it has all that Shakti, all those stuff of liking and disliking. So your consciousness gets drawn down to it. And then you say, the meaning of my life is to chase for this and chase away from that. I want this to happen and I don't want that to happen. Wow. That's called being lost. That's the fall from the garden. You fell from the divine consciousness, which they say is Satchitananda, the eternal conscious ecstasy. God ain't sending anybody to hell. God just pure love and ecstasy. This is his creation, like an artwork, all of it. And basically, you have chosen to fall from that consciousness into this mess that you made, and you made it. I'm talking about karma and all that kind of philosophies are ridiculous. You're in there, you're conscious, you're the only one in there, and you can do anything you want in there. It can be any way you want in there. If somebody says something to you that's insulting, guess what you get to say? Talk dirty to me, I love it. It's the end of it. All right? The saint, truly a saint, my Yog Shakti, the picture down in the corner, who brought us the Durga statue back in the mid-70s, late 70s. She once leaned over to me. She was very sannyas. She never talked personal, anything. Very beautiful, very, very deep lady. But we were very close. She leaned over me once. I'll never forget it. She's passed some years ago. She said, Mickey, I said, yes, mother. She says, don't you just love when they yell at you? There's so much energy. Isn't there? A lot of energy when people yelling and coming at the right? She just transmuted it. She just said, this is exciting. Come on, more. I want more. Right? You can do anything you want in there. You're the only one in there. Don't you say, these are my thoughts? These are my feelings? Oh, you're very proud of that. You hurt my feelings? They're yours. You can learn to make them beautiful. You can learn to enjoy every single moment of your life on earth. And now that you're okay with it, you can serve others. But you listen to me. If you're not okay inside, you think you're serving others, you're serving yourself. You're trying to make other people be the way you need them to be so that you're okay. If you're upset by something or disturbed by something or don't like something, then you don't want it to happen. And so you're out there manipulating the world to try and make it so it makes you be okay. But my way's right. No, it's not. But her way's right. No, it's not. What is that line from the 60s, right? How can everybody be right when everybody's wrong? It was one of the songs from the 60s era. It's like, of course you think you're right. Of course you think you're right because you think you're right. Like you sit there and say, well, my politics are this because I had this experience when we were young. Somebody else had a different experience. Therefore, they think differently. Everybody's the sum of their learned experiences. That's the truth. Not what they're thinking. That's not the truth. The truth is they're sitting on a planet spinning in the middle of nowhere. You'll only be here a few years. There. Bottom. That's it. That's the truth. Don't try to tell me other truths. The things you're making up in your head because of experience that you had. Therefore, they're relative truths. They're relative related to things that you've experienced. And then people say, well, I don't understand. How can I live here if I think like that or I'm like that, or if I'm that open, if I'm that truthful? The truth is the reason I don't like this is because my sister died and it's hurt me so much. And so I'm trying to do anything I can to feel better. And so I blog like this. That's the truth. You'll never say that. You'll say, this is the truth. I know it's the truth. I can feel it in my heart. Of course you do. Of course you do. Because it's the sum of your learned experiences. Are you looking at me like I'm crazy, or do you understand? And do you understand this is a spiritual discussion? Not what you believe or what you hope, or what you dream, or what you attract to yourself. What is all that stuff about attracting to yourself? Can you attract? Yes, you can. Based on what? Based on the sum of your learned experiences. How do you decide what you want to attract to yourself? Because you're not okay without it. Because you think it'll make you be okay. Why are you not okay? You're pure love, pure beauty, pure Shakti, pure ecstasy, every one of you right now. But you're looking at something that's not. And it's not comfortable. So now you want to go out there and change the world to be the way that will make you comfortable. And you're not willing to admit that it's just stupid. And that's why everybody's fighting with everybody, is it not? That's why there are wars. That's why there's everything, right? So now, you see what truth is? It's pretty deep stuff, isn't it? Always step back. Where's the truth? Step back away from yourself, and you'll see truth better than if you look at yourself. Because I'm telling you, what you're looking at is the sum of your learned experiences, and how dare you think that you're right and nobody else is. Even Yogananda used to say, if I had walked in his shoes, I would think the way he does. By God's grace, there goes myself. That's what Master used to say. By God's grace, I'm different. Otherwise, I'd be doing that. So you don't judge. There's what Christ tried to teach you. Judge not that ye shall not be judged. Let ye without sin throw the first stone. Okay? This is spirituality. You wake up and you realize it is not about getting everything outside to be the way you want. That's basically saying I'm caught in the sum of my learned experiences, and the only way I'm okay is if you and everybody else and everything and every newspaper I read and every single thing is the way I need it to be, so that when it makes it into me, I feel better. I like it. And if it's anything other than that, oh my God, I'm furious. Road rage. Why are you going so slow? I'm going to put up with this. Oh, good, have fun. In other words, you have this garbage stored in there, and it needs to express itself, doesn't it? That's what anger is. That's what insecurity is. That's all that stuff is. You who's looking at the stuff is the highest being that ever walked the face of the earth. Consciousness is the highest thing there is. I told you, that's what God is, consciousness, right? And I can't get into it. I can't not, right? Quantum physics is the deepest, most spiritual, beautiful thing that has been found other than the enlightened masters. Quantum physics. Why? Because they looked for the truth. And it looked like there was a piece of wood over there. No, not really. It's just a bunch of molecules. Okay, we got our microscope at a certain lens. It sees the molecules. No, not really. It's atoms bound together into molecules. Okay, and we got ourselves an electron microscope going down there. No, they're not really any atoms. There are electrons, neutrons, and protons that put themselves together due to the laws and act like atoms. No, oh my God. Don't say no to that. In school, I learned that. No, they're not electron, neutron, or protons. They're quarks, bosons, and leptons. What is that? Subatomic particles. And if you take two up quarks and a down quark, it makes a proton. If you take two down quarks and an up quark, it makes a neutron. Like, oh my God. So those things are just made out of something else. Now you're down to subatomic particles. This is what your body is. This is what everything is. This is not just some discussion. This is what they found. So they're down to the subatomic particles, quarks, leptons, bosons, and they put themselves together. No, not really. They're apparent particles. What does that mean? There are no particles. There are fields that get agitated and make waves. And those wavelets in the fields appear to be particles. They act like particles. They have a charge, they have a spin, they have a color, they have characteristics. And that makes up what you call a particle. There are no particles. There's nothing of form. So now we're down there. Well, okay, ask a quantum physicist, the field that's omnipresent, by the way, everywhere, the fields are everywhere, right? Every spot there is that's a field, it's a field. What's it made of? They have no idea. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. They have no idea. They can just see, they can't see the behavior, but they can see the effect of the behavior and say it matches reality. The result of this standard model of particle physics, of quantum physics, explains pretty much everything, and they have never disproved it. Okay, fine. But what's the field made of? I have no idea. Guess what? Thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, before there were microscopes or anything, great masters meditated in caves so deeply that they know what the field is made of. Consciousness. They went back, fell back away from staring out and fell in. And you go read my Experiencing Cosmic Consciousness, and chapter in Autobiography of a Yogi. When Yogananda touched that state for the first time, he said, my entire body became the galaxies. My being was expanding at the speed of light in every single direction at once. The whole universe was my body, all right? Like when you go to sleep at night, you make universes, don't you? You make cities and people. They're real to you. You walk in them, don't you? Sometimes they're so real that when you wake up 3 days later, you think you actually had the experience. You can't tell if it was a dream or not. What are those things made of? They're there. Obviously, your consciousness experienced it. It's just consciousness. You made it of consciousness. Well, that the universe is made of the field of universal consciousness that expressed itself. That's what the great masters taught way back then. That field of consciousness that's everywhere expressed itself because it wanted to know itself. All right? Well, how can you take an empty field of consciousness and make it into form? Ask the quantum physicist, because he or she is real close. They got it down to where there's really nothing but little vibrations within a field. In yoga, they call them vrittis, just vibrations. And that vibration can create the whole universe. They can literally take it from a vibration, a vibe, and make the universe. Right now, they can do that. They do that. Wow. The whole purpose of this conversation, let's talk truths. Guess what? The Chinese quantum physicists see the same truth. That's what it's called, the standard model. Everybody's rocking in that model. So you look how close you are to the reality of who you are. You are the consciousness staring at this thing you made in there. You made it. I did not. Mommy did this and she said really mean things to me. Fine. Okay, Mommy said mean things. No question about it. Did you have to hold them inside you? Why would you hold the meanest thing that ever happened to you inside of you so it screws up your whole life? Well, I don't know. This happened. No, I know it just happened, right? How about we unhappen it? How about we unhappen it? How about we sit there and say, okay, I'm 87 now, and Mommy's been dead for 40 years. And still, if I think of her, I get all screwed up. Guess whose fault that is? Mommy's. No, yours. Mommy did the thing 43 years ago. You decided to let it screw up your life for the rest of your life. You're in there. It could have come in, passed through, like the white lines on the road. Oh my God, he's not saying that. Yes, he is. It can come in and go through unless you stop it. Who? The consciousness. The consciousness does not want to have that experience, does it? And so it pushes it away. When you push it away, you store it inside of you. And the day you decide to stop pushing it away, it's coming back up. And you're not going to like it. But if you decide, like a very wise, great person that you are, that if I don't like it, still, even though she's dead, and it's not happening anymore, and never happened again for 40 years, I still don't like it, then I'm going to push it back down. Then I can continue running my life. But if I want to be free, if I want to open and experience the greatness that I am, if I want to feel real love without trepidation and fear, if I want to experience the sunset, if I just want to have these deep, beautiful experiences, I can't store that stuff inside of me. So when it comes back up, it's going to feel yicky. Why? Because it felt yicky originally, and I stored yicky. I have to be ready, willing, and able to say, come on, I'm sorry I pushed you down there. I'm sorry you spent 40 years suppressed in the darkness of my subconscious. I don't want you down there anymore. I'm truly sorry. I will help you come up. I will help you release. I know it's not going to feel good. I want to be free. I want to be free. Therefore, I have to be willing to let you come up. And I am willing. That's why we do mantra. That's why we do yoga. That's why we breathe. There's all kinds of techniques to help you while that stuff's coming up. If it's coming up and you want it to come up, okay, I could use some way to be open, use some way to release it, no matter what it is, as terrible as it is. That more, like some of you look at me and say, but you don't understand what happened to me. Yes, I do. I do understand. And I love you so much that I don't want you living with it. But it happened, but you don't have to keep it. Notice happened is past tense. Why are you making it present tense? So no matter what it is, it does not have to be in there. You just have to be willing to let it not be in there. That's not so easy, is it? Come on, there's stuff you got in there. You don't even like me talking like this. You cannot be free while that stuff's in there. I don't care how high you go, what drugs you take, what mantras you do. I don't care. That stuff is in there. It's going to pull you back down. It's like an anchor that's tying the boat. Until the anchor comes off, you're not going up. Hey, look at me. Until it's not down there, you can't be free. It's just to hold you down. So how do I get it not to be down there? But just let it. That's why the teachers, I'm the luckiest teacher in the entire world, because my teachers are so simple, right? Well, what technique do I use to not have it down there? When it comes up, let it go. And it will be down there. You don't know what's keeping it down there. You don't want to keep pushing that stuff back down there because you don't want to think about it or feel it or anything like that. I'm going to clue you in. You do want it coming up. You do. What happens when it comes up and you let go, you start realizing, whoa, I'm not as screwed up as I was before. My thoughts are not as crazy as they were before. I'm not as moody as I was before. I'm able to handle things that I couldn't handle before. That's right, because you got rid of this garbage that you're storing inside. And let go a little bit more, you start feeling something you never felt before. Normally, you're pulled down by your stuff, and you have to go out and fight, manipulate, and control. Now, all of a sudden, you let go of enough, and you start feeling this energy starts coming up inside of you. You felt it before when you fell in love. You felt it before when you were really excited about something and enthused, but it only didn't stay very long. And there was always a reason it was there. Now it just comes up by itself. What? Love. Why would love come up? Because that's what's inside of you. And the only reason you don't feel it is because you blocked it. And the only reason you feel when you feel it is because somebody said something really nice to you and it made your blockage open up and you felt really good. Until they said something not so nice or said what they said to you to somebody else. Oh. It's like basically love is what's down there. But you have clouds that are blocking it until you're willing to open it. Well, what happens if you let go of those clouds? Love, joy, enthusiasm, shakti starts coming up. You start feeling this energy feeding you all day, all night. And then it starts to come more. And there's more. And it starts coming up and you start realizing, wait a minute, this is really beautiful. I'm enthused about everything. You just love life. You love everything because you're filled with this joy and energy. Every single one of you are capable of that state. Then you start noticing that if something happens outside and you don't feel so comfortable about it, there's less Shakti. Every single time. You start saying, whoa, that's quite a trade-off. I'll trade off this beautiful experience I'm having for an ugly one. That sounds good. I'll tell you what. I'll give you $1 if you give me $1 million back. No, I will not. Well, that's what you're doing. You're sitting there saying, I'm going to give up the most beautiful experience I ever had because what you said to me, you had a bad day, you said something to me, so it made me feel bad. I'll choose to feel bad. No, eventually, I'm going to talk about getting high. This is high in the path. Eventually, you sit there and say, that was stupid. Why don't I just handle what you said? Why don't I just sit there and say, well, I had a bad day. Okay, let go. I get to keep the Shakti. Guess what? You're going to start to catch on. That's a whole nother way of life. How to get high, how to stay high, how to never come back down until you sit there and say, not a thing can happen that will ever bring me down. It's just sitting on a little planet in the middle of nowhere, spinning around, all right? What'd you do today? A 360 on my axis. That's what you did today. What happened this year? I took a lap around the sun. What'd you do? I got divorced and everything, and I got a zit on my face when I went to the prom, and it was, oh my God, it was a thing, and I got some drop ketchup on my pants. I had to go, oh, I'm sorry. I just took a lap around the sun. You're welcome to do it, aren't you? And then you start feeling this energy, and then I'll do it very quickly. Then you decide, I ain't giving this up. It's the most beautiful thing. And then something amazing happens. The world in front of you seems to start unfolding in a much more harmonious way. Guess what? It's because you were defining harmony and disharmony. You start understanding that birth and death are part of life. You start understanding that everything is part of life. It's all harmonious. It's all for your growth. Earth is a place that souls are sent to evolve. You're not going to evolve if you get what you want all the time. You'll stay stuck. If you got every single thing you wanted since you were 3, you'd behave like a 3-year-old. So basically, understand that getting what you want is so overrated, it's ridiculous. Letting go of why you like and dislike, now we're talking deep. You have all those impressions in there. Then all of a sudden you're inspired by everything. You're excited about everything. You wake up in the morning, what's going to happen? I don't know, but it will be fun. And the more you let go, the higher you get. The more you let go, the higher you get. Until eventually you're way back there and you realize nothing can touch you. Now you're ready to let go. And eventually you can reach these very, very high states without drugs, without this, without struggle, without anything. Just by letting go of the anchor, you go up. So we talked about some serious truths. I gave you methodologies, truths that you can use to free yourself from yourself. Like I said, the techniques that other people teach, yoga, meditation, this, that, that's wonderful. If you're using it to let go of yourself. If you have stuff coming up, and then breathe. Do things that help you let go. But don't do everything in your life to keep the stuff inside of you. You'll never grow. You'll never change. All right. Well, thank you for listening. I know it's not easy. I'm going to stop. This is what should be your relationship with your past. Look at me. Thank you. I love you. You made me the man or woman that I am today. You made me the spiritual being I am today. Yes, there were chisels. Yes, there was sandpaper. Yes, there were atomic bombs. And they freed me. Thank you. I wouldn't change a single thing about my past. Nothing. That's how. You hear me? That's total appreciation for what life can do for you. All right. Jai Gurudev.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.